Hey guys, so right now I'm going to be recording the Ministry Progress Summary through November 20th, 2022. So it's been a couple weeks here and I'm going to be going over all of the things that I got done in this 2-week cycle. Alright, so here is the outline here. So one of the things that I did in this cycle was I set up a new cell phone. It had been a while since I had my last one, so I had to do this. I didn't have much of a choice. This was just the timing on it. I set up the full teleprompter assembly, including software for reversing the computer display that ends up reflected onto the teleprompter surface, so we'll go over that. I created a spreadsheet to automate the creation of update messages for these ministry progress summaries, so when I send out the email to the mailing list and post updates to the Facebook page and the Twitter page and things like that, I set up a spreadsheet to help automate some of that. I set up a new framework for the daily progress summaries that I do, and that is not strictly ministry related, but it's something that takes up some of my time during every week. And so if I can make that more efficient, hopefully it'll give me more time for ministry. And then of course we'll go over the things that I'm planning to get done in the future here. So just on account of the fact that I had more things on the personal side that I had to get done this cycle, I didn't make quite as much progress on the ministry side as I have in some of the other cycles more recently, but nonetheless, we'll go through the things that I did get done here. So first, setting up a new phone. My old phone here was quite old. I think it was about 5 years old. I got it when I was still in college. And so this was a necessary step. It was getting kind of long in the tooth. Things were crashing randomly here and there, and my battery didn't have nearly as much capacity as it used to, and I'm running a pretty out-of-date version of Android on that phone and things like that. So I definitely decided it was time for me to get a new phone. So this was like a necessary practical thing I had to do. So in addition to getting all of the apps and data transferred over when I set up the new phone, I also went into the carrier and I got them to swap out the SIMs, and I actually upgraded my phone plan at the same time here, mostly to be able to use my hotspot over my lunch break at work. So I needed to have more data to make sure that I didn't run out of data doing this, so that as previously discussed, I can hopefully get some additional ministry stuff done over my lunch break when I take the time to do that. So kind of slotting some ministry stuff into that time slot during my days when I am at least in the office at any rate. Now I'll be able to work better because I'll have access to the internet when I'm working over my lunch break. And so doing all of this, getting the phone set up, getting the stuff transferred over, swapping out the SIM, getting the plans, the new plan that I'm using set up, all of that, it took some planning. Actually doing it, once I figured out what I needed to do, wasn't so long, but all of this took a good bit of time. And so I'd say, I don't know, a couple of days, maybe 3 days out of these last couple of weeks was kind of dedicated to phone stuff. So another big thing I did here was I got the full teleprompter assembly kind of put up in my room. So I have moved, I'm now recording these videos in the master bedroom. I have all of the lights set up now too, and so there's kind of quite a bit of stuff that went into it. I had a tripod for the teleprompter. I have the teleprompter set up with the webcam behind it. I have 2 ring lights, kind of kind of giving better lighting here, preventing the video from being too dark. So all of this stuff came, and so I actually spent a fair amount of time setting everything up physically. So I had to kind of get the assembly above my treadmill all put together. So right now I'm not walking on it, but during many of the daily progress summary videos that I record, or some of the videos for my personal channel and stuff, I'm probably just going to end up recording a lot of those when I walk on the treadmill, so I can get some exercise while I do it. But I had all of this setup stuff to do, so I kind of got everything physically assembled here. So I am actually recording using this setup now. So, the intro and outro parts of this video where I have the webcam turned on, you'll kind of see, I think the webcam picture quality is a lot better than it had been when I was trying to do stuff with the GoPro. So it is actually shooting through the teleprompter glass. So the webcam is set up behind the teleprompter, and so when I get around to actually doing stuff with the teleprompter, I will have this setup kind of ready and waiting for me. Now this isn't the type of video here. The ministry progress summaries aren't the kinds of videos where I'll be using full scripts. So obviously I'm not reading off the teleprompter right now, but nonetheless, I got all of this stuff physically set up, and that took a good bit of time. And then to actually get the teleprompter to work properly, I had to figure out a software solution to get the display to reverse. And so if you've ever looked at a t-shirt that you wear in the mirror, you'll notice that the text is exactly flipped horizontally. And so it reads kind of like it's backwards, right? And so if I'm reflecting the display up on, it's something called beam splitter glass. That is what the teleprompter uses. It's this glass mirror that basically takes the image and, lets light pass through so that you can record with the GoPro. And that way I can have the image projected while I have, or not the GoPro, the webcam rather, while I have the webcam pointed at me. And, that's how teleprompters work, basically. But teleprompters, because they're a reflection, they have this same issue of they actually reverse all the text. And so I needed to figure out a way in software to basically reverse my display so that when it gets reflected, it'll get like de-reversed. So I need to reverse it so that when it gets reversed in reflection, it'll end up kind of in the right orientation, kind of like two negatives making a positive here. And so basically, I was kind of horrified at the lack of options that I had here. I thought it would be kind of easy, I just download something and run it and that would be that. But I had to do a fair bit of research trying to figure out how people actually do this. There's a lot of apps that people use for doing it for like a single application window. I have a Windows tablet that I'm using for this. Many people who do this use an iPad or an Android tablet. But in terms of Windows 10, there actually wasn't a great out-of-the-box option that just did this seamlessly. I was, like I said, kind of put out by this. I did finally find a software program. It's called Ultramon. It only works if you hook up at least one external monitor and make that your primary display. So you can only reverse things that are secondary displays here using this software program. But it does in fact work. It does what I want it to. Another downside is that it's not free. I'll have to pay for it once I run out of the free trial. But at least I found something that works, but I had to spend some time researching this and setting this up as well. And so all of this was another basically set of steps on the practical front. So I got the teleprompter set up. That'll be something that I use more in the future. I got this new recording set up, so hopefully the image quality will be better, and hopefully I won't have to keep thinking about these things. I've spent a fair amount of time fiddling around with the video settings, trying to make everything turn out better. So I think I'm finally done here. I think I'm happy with the quality. I don't think I'm going to mess with it anymore. And so I'm hoping that having got all of this set up, I won't have to spend up so much time here on kind of the video and audio setup, that everything will kind of stabilize there and I can focus myself on the content more. All right, another thing, this was a little bit more on the ministry side. So when I share these ministry progress summaries, I share them on the mailing list and the Facebook page and the Twitter page and on the forum and things like this. And so given that I have these messages I need to make, rather than kind of copy pasting everything manually in a whole bunch of different places, what if I made a spreadsheet that would just kind of build all the messages for me? And that way I'd just be able to copy paste instantly rather than having to kind of think about how I want to structure things here. Now, one kind of downside of this, I suppose, is that because I'm using a template, it might seem a little bit formulaic. Technically speaking, I'd guess that like internet marketers would call this bad practice, right? You're supposed to have variety and variation and, have exciting thumbnails and things like that. But I'm really not, out to try to impress people or make things look flashy. I'm just trying to make it so that people who are interested in what's going on with this ministry will be able to stay up to date in a very practical manner. So I'm trying to keep things kind of short and informative and to the point. And so for that reason, I'm not really put off by this idea of using this template idea to kind of automate how I send these messages. So maybe they sound kind of similar, but that's not a bad thing because they're just going to summarize the information that happens every couple weeks. That's the point of these. So I am pretty happy with how it turned out, I think. I think it will help reduce the amount of time it takes for me to kind of propagate these ministry progress summaries to all of the channels here. So like I said, the mailing list, Facebook, Twitter, the forum, all of these places now, I can do it without having to spend as much time actually building the messages. So that was this. I built that spreadsheet that uses the templates, just concatenates stuff together, and hopefully it will reduce some of the busy work that goes into sharing all of these updates as I do them. All right, so finally, last thing that we're going to go over here in this ministry progress update, I set up kind of a new framework for doing daily progress summaries moving forward. So now that I kind of have this recording set up in my room with the treadmill and everything, that's kind of how I'm planning on doing this. I'm planning on actually recording all of those videos every single day. So in the past, when I had all this hassle with the GoPro getting things set up, I kind of would procrastinate and end up doing all of these all at once. And they'd kind of become a bottleneck to my process. I would procrastinate on them and then have to catch up. In fact, I'm a little bit behind right now, even as we speak. So I know that was one of the things I was planning on doing here, but I set up the framework instead, which will hopefully help me stay up to date moving forward. So I'm not going to spend too much time here because this isn't strictly ministry related. This is something that will hopefully help free up some of the rest of my time moving forward so that I'll be able to focus on ministry more completely. So I do a better job kind of organizing my workflow here. It means that I'll have more time to spend making ministry content. So, basically what I did was I set up a new content type on my static site generator, and now, at least for the time being, everything's just local, but I'm actually organizing things how I want it to be long term. And if I just keep up with it every day, I think I will basically help this not be a bottleneck in my process as much as it has been in the past. So again, not going to spend too much time here, but this was another thing that took up, it actually took me a while to get everything set up how I wanted it. And, I had to work on the template pages to make sure that all of the lists were coming out properly. And anyway, I won't bore everyone with the details, but another necessary kind of step on the practical front that I took to organize things in this cycle here. All right, so that actually brings us, this one's quite a bit shorter, as I said, compared to some of the ones we've had before. This brings us to the upcoming work section. So the last couple times, my goals here have been to kind of organize the next couple lessons in the SR4 series so that I get to that one that has 2 discussion pages, so that I will have that example of having more than one discussion page on the same content page, and then take screenshots, basically finish making the documentation for the discussion pages, and then finally finishing the organization for the rest of the videos in the SR4 series that have already been posted. Well, these goals of mine haven't really changed. I still want to do things. I still want to do them in that order. One thing that did occur to me as I was organizing videos here, though, was I've kind of decided that one of the first things I should do, so that I don't keep losing time to it, is kind of write a couple bash scripts here to automate the video processing stuff even more. So I already have a set of like 4 commands that I copy paste in order. So I copy paste one and then wait for it to finish and then copy paste the next and so on. And so this is a good candidate for me to write a script. I'm going to have to kind of take the files in their intermediate steps and properly feed them from one application into the next. I'm not quite going to pipe it because, I want to actually move the files after I process them and things like that. But, I want to actually write scripts to do this more automatically. That way I won't have to babysit it so much. It will save time moving forward in the future. And so I kind of figure if I'm going to be writing these scripts eventually anyway to automate this better, it kind of makes sense to do it sooner rather than later, so that way I save the most time in the long term doing this. And so probably going to try to do this kind of first thing in this next cycle here. That way I'll be able to do that. I won't just use this on the ministry side. I'll use this for all the videos I make on my other personal YouTube channel and things like that. And hopefully they'll just help me save time and therefore have more time and energy to focus on to the ministry things. So. And like I said, still going to keep plugging away at the main goals here, getting all of that SR4 content polished and organized, because that will finish out phase 2 and kind of my launch plan here. It will kind of give me permission to start making new content again, to start getting more involved and all of that other great stuff that I'm planning on doing once I feel like I'm kind of ready and I've got the content in the place where I want it. So with that, switch back on the webcam here. And we'll go ahead and finish things off here today. So that was the ministry progress update here through November 20th, 2022. As I said, a little bit lighter on terms of actual ministry stuff I got done, just because I had a lot of kind of personal matters I had to attend to, like setting up that phone and getting all of this new setup in the master here done. So you can see the kind of scenery, the backdrop has changed here, but I'm happy with the way that the recording setup has turned out, and hopefully I'll be able to kind of dedicate myself a bit more here towards making progress on the ministry front. I do have a 4-day weekend here in this cycle. We have Thanksgiving. I'm taking Friday after Thanksgiving off from work, and so I'm hoping that I will be able to dedicate more of my time on this long weekend to kind of working long days on all of the ministry stuff that I want to get done, so that I can kind of get out of this setup phase. So I think that's where we'll cut things. Thanks for watching. I hope this has been helpful for those of you staying up to date with what's going on here. And hopefully in the coming cycles, we'll have more progress on the actual ministry side of things.